Welcome to the Interim Assessment Overview video. This video is part of a series of microlearning style videos from the Introduction to the California Educator Reporting System, or CERS, for test coordinators and administrators. A resource guide accompanies this video series and can be accessed in the description of this video. Let's go over the purpose and use of interim assessments before discussing the data available. The interim assessments are free resources provided by the California Department of Education. Interim assessments can inform and support teaching and learning in multiple ways. The intended purpose is to evaluate student knowledge and skills during the year. Interim assessments can be used flexibly as both assessments for learning and of learning. What do we mean by that? Interim assessments can be administered in a standardized manner or a non-standardized manner. An example of a standardized manner is when the interim assessment is administered as a formal individual assessment after a unit of instruction. This is an example of an assessment of learning. Examples of non-standardized manners of administration are when a teacher displays an interim assessment for a whole class to discuss or uses the interim assessment with small groups of students. These are examples of interim assessments used for learning. When teachers administer interim assessments, they are asked whether they are being administered in a standardized or non-standardized manner. CERS will note the administration of standardized or non-standardized, but results are displayed the same. It is the teacher that can consider the manner of administration when viewing results. Use of the interim assessments can also improve student familiarity with different types of test items, with the interface, and the accessibility resources. Becoming familiar with the interims can lead to powerful professional learning for educators. The resources available to support the interim assessments allow teachers to become more familiar with the content being assessed, the ways in which students are assessed, and the rubrics or scoring criteria that are used to evaluate the responses. Interim assessments are available all year long. However, the new interim assessments for the school year usually roll over in late summer. There is a web page that lists all of the interim assessments that are available. The link for the web page is in the resource guide. Currently, there are over 220 Smarter Balanced ELA and Math interim assessments, 18 CAST interim assessments, and 56 LPAC interim assessments. Please note that all interim assessments are administered on the computer, but are not computer adaptive. They include a fixed set of items, and every student gets the same items. There is one exception to the computer-based setup, which will be mentioned when the LPAC interim assessments are discussed in a few moments. And lastly, some interim assessments contain items that require hand scoring. This information is important to know because when an assessment has a hand-scored item, the item will need to be scored locally and submitted before the assessment results will display in CERS. The link for the webpage is in the resource guide. Since there isn't time to list all of the interim assessments, let's dig into how they are organized. For Smarter Balanced, for ELA and Math, they are organized by the content they assess. The Interim Comprehensive Assessments, or ICAs, test the same content and report scores on the same scale as the summative assessments. With the new Smarter Balanced adjusted form, the ICAs will actually take longer than the summative assessments to administer as they use the full form summative blueprints. They can be administered up to 3 times a year, and each ICA includes one or more items that require hand scoring. The Interim Assessment Blocks, or IABs, focus on smaller sets of related concepts and provide more detailed information for instructional purposes. They generally have from 6 to 18 items and can be administered within one class period. They could be administered an unlimited number of times, but it is important to note that there is currently only one form for each IAB, so students would experience the same items if the assessment is given more than one time. Focused IABs, or FIABs, assess even smaller chunks of content, generally 1 to 3 assessment targets. They generally have 10 to 15 items focused on very specific concepts. CAST interim assessments are organized in 2 ways. In elementary school, they are organized by grade level performance expectations, so the CAST IAs for grades 3, 4, and 5 assess all three science domains: earth and space sciences, life sciences, and physical sciences. In middle school and in high school, the CAST interim assessments are organized by science domains. So there are 3 middle school and 3 high school CAST interim assessments, and they each assess one science domain. Each interim assessment will include one performance task with a constructed response that will require hand scoring. LPAC interim assessments are organized by domain and grade level or grade span. The LPAC has an interim assessment for each domain: listening, speaking, reading, and writing for each grade level or grade span currently assessed by the summative LPAC: kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2, grade span 3 through 5, grade span 6 through 8, grade span 9 and 10, and grade span 11 and 12. Speaking and writing are locally hand-scored by educators. Reading and listening are computer-scored. The LPAC interim assessments will be administered online to students as a linear test, except for kindergarten through grade 2 writing domain, which, like the summative LPAC, will be administered on paper. Each interim will include about half of the items on the summative LPAC, with all summative task types covered between interim 1 and interim 2. This means there are 2 forms or 2 versions available for each interim assessment. Thank you for watching the interim assessment overview video. We hope you have found the information to be useful. The full video series title list is located in the description of this video.